Little bit about me. When I was in high school, I really wanted to be on the football team because those were all the cool people. But there's this thing called Hell Week that I was like, Hell Week? I'm not sure, but I want to do Hell Week. So I never went, right? But I really wanted to be on the football team. So my mom convinced me, it's okay, you can just sign up. You can just walk up and be like, hey, can I be on the team? Right? And so I had this idea. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Right? But I was a little nervous, a little scared. So as I'm walking towards the practice, I'm walking past the school. There's the school, the football field, and then the parking lots and stuff like that. So I'm walking, and I'm thinking to myself, I can do this. It's okay. But inside of me, there's all of these. They're just going to tell me to go kick rocks. It's too late. I'm not good enough. All that stuff. But I'm working my way up, and I'm getting really nervous as I'm getting closer and closer to the head coach. And so I walk up to the head coach, walk past the head coach into the parking lot, get in my car, and I drive away. Right? And then, so my mom, she knows, because she wanted me to be a football player too. And so she asked me how it was, and I did what any rational teenager would do. I lied, right? I told my mom. They said, oh yeah, he said no. And I thought that would be the end of it. We'd be fine. The thing that I didn't factor into this is my mom was a vice principal at an elementary school in that school system. So she got on the phone and started making calls. And so she told me the next day, she's like, don't worry. The football coach has been talked to. He will gladly receive you into the football team. You just need to go on Monday, and it will all be good. So I have to walk up to the football coach. Be like, yeah, the guy that got you in trouble this weekend, it's me. Can I be on your football team now? And he just looked at me. He's like, so you're the kid, huh? I was like, okay. And he let me on the team, which was great. But the thing is, at that time, I really wanted to be on the football team, but I was willing to walk away from that dream just because I went into I'm not good enough, I'm going to get rejected. I just went into self-preservation. Instead of taking a risk, I'm just going to get in my car, drive away, and forget my entire dream. Right? And that's not the first time I've done it. There's been lots of dreams that I just was like, the cost is more than I'm willing to pay. And if you're anything like me, you can relate, right? We all want these God-sized lives. We want a life that is abundant, that's extraordinary, but we often choose, like I did, the safe route, right? For some of us, it's fear of loss. We're scared that we're going to lose. We're going to lose our control. We're going to lose our reputation, our resources, etc. And so we just choose to avoid risk altogether. Some of us, it's our past hurt and trauma, right? That we've been betrayed, rejected so much that taking a risk it brings back all of the pain. And so we're like, no, I'll just skip on that one. Others of us, it's about insecurity and self-worth, right? Which was really mine, walking up, is that I'm not good enough, right? I'm not valuable enough. I don't have what it takes. And so we don't go after the things that we want. For others of you, this would be my wife's category. It's not lack of vulnerability, seeing vulnerability as weakness. Right? Some of you are like, no, I'm strong. I don't need people. I'm good. I've got it. Showing people that I do have needs is weakness, and there's nothing weak about me. Right? And so we miss opportunities because we're trying to be strong. And other people, it's just pride and control. Right? I have to be right. I have to look like I have it together. I need to be able to control stuff. And for all of that, what all of that is when we go into self-preservation mode. right? When we go into self-preservation mode, it causes us to miss out on the God-sized life that we really, really want. And we play it safe, but we don't understand that playing it safe guarantees a mediocre life. We want this great life, but we play it safe and we just get an okay life, right? Jesus actually said it in Mark 8:35, we're going to be there in a few weeks, that if you try to save your life, what happens? You lose the very thing that you're trying to save. And that's what happens when we go into self-preservation mode. That we're holding so tight onto stuff that we end up losing the very thing that we want the most. Right? We've all missed opportunities because of that. We've even missed out on relationships because of that. We didn't take a risk. And just like Jesus said, we end up losing everything that we were trying to hold on to. The good news, though, is that God has a lot to say on this. Are you guys ready to hear what God says on this? Yes. Perfect. First of all, let's just review, for those of you who are new, we've been going through the 7 marks, right? So there's been 7 marks on knowing Jesus that we went through. There are 7 marks on following Jesus. That's when the disciples actually become followers of him. And then right after that, the subject matter changes, and Jesus starts to deal with all the heart issues that we have, right? And so what we're in now is the 7 marks of a selfish life. That as you begin to follow Jesus, if you've been a Christian any time, you realize that almost immediately, Jesus is like, hey, let's talk about your selfishness. And you're like, no, I'm good. Right? And that's where Jesus is with the disciples right now. He's talking about their heart issues, right? The very first was the self-focus, Jesus' hometown. We saw this. Jesus went to his hometown, and he tried to do some miracles, but all of his hometown people, instead of being like, oh my gosh, he's like so amazing, they took offense at him. Right? Because they had self-focus, they couldn't see Jesus for who he really was and what he wanted to do. And when we see Jesus through the lens of our own filters and self-focus, we actually limit his ability to work in our lives. That's the crazy thing. It says that Jesus could do no mighty miracles there in his hometown, except for heal a couple people. I mean, I think that's a pretty mighty miracle, but I mean, if healing people is not a mighty miracle, think about what he is capable of. And it's crazy to realize that self-focus can actually stop God's work in your life. Right? And so the second thing that we saw was Herod. Herod was all about self-deception. This was last week. And self-deception basically keeps us from seeing others clearly, and it stops us from living truly like Jesus. That as we are self-deceived, we elevate our desires and we ignore conviction, we rationalize our sin, and we deceive ourselves, and everybody around us suffers for it. All right, so that's where we were. And today, we are going to be talking about the third mark, which is self-preservation, right? Where we're drained by demand and disconnected from God's power. It's this, self-preservation is the sense of lack. Whenever you run out of stuff, energy, time, sleep, you go into self-preservation mode. And ultimately, the difference between self-preservation or not self-preservation is the mindset. We either can have an abundance mindset or a poverty mindset. And when we have a poverty mindset and we're looking at everything we don't have, we go into the self-preservation mode. Poverty mindset looks at myself and my resources and protects what I have, and we're going to see that's exactly what the disciples do. And the contrast to the disciples is Jesus. And Jesus has an abundance mindset. He looks to God and his resources, and he shares what he has. So where we're at in the story, Jesus, his ministry hits a road bump, a speed bump, right, with his hometown. So he switches it up, and he decides to send his disciples out, right? If I'm being prevented from doing major miracles, I'm going to send my disciples out, and they're going to go out, and they do all of this miraculous stuff. And he gives them authority over sickness, over demons, over all of this. And then when they come back is where we start. It says, the apostles returned to Jesus. Notice first, they just got a promotion, by the way. Before this, now they're being called apostles. Before they were called, they just got a promotion. Look at that. And they come back to Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. And he said to them, come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while. And the reason he said that is because many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. Right? So they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I did all these crazy stuff. And they're so busy. They don't have time to eat. So Jesus says, you know what we need? We need a retreat. Notice that their focus is on themselves. They came back and they didn't tell all the amazing things God had done. What did they tell all the amazing things they had done? Right? So not only the author is going to show you with this emphasis that not only has they've been given a promotion, but the promotion, they've fully accepted it. They're like, yeah, oh my gosh, I did all this cool stuff, Jesus. Self-focus, this is self-focus. It's the starting point for everything else. That first one with the hometown people, it all starts with self-focus. And this is what derails us. Everything else bleeds out of self-focus. The hometown people, it's their problem. Self-focus is Herod's problem. It's the disciples' problem. And if we are honest, it's our problem too. It's one of our biggest problems, self-focus. And this is the first mark of self-preservation. Overestimating your contribution. It's not that you're like making contribution is bad. We all should be making contribution, but it's that my contribution is like super, super important. Right? What I'm doing is super important. Like some of the mentality is like nothing would happen in this house if it wasn't for me. Nothing would happen in my job if it wasn't for you. You guys are like so lost. You are so lucky I'm even here because what I do is really the most important thing. Right? And it's that overemphasis that what my contribution is more important than anybody else around me. And in order to feel good about our choice to go into self-preservation mode, we really need to feel like we earned it. That's why we have to make such a big deal about our contribution. I deserve to go into self-preservation because look at all of the things I've done. I'm doing all the giving here. Man, I deserve a vacation. Right? We have to do that in order to justify that it's okay for ourselves. And they were so busy, they didn't have time to eat. And so Jesus decided it was time for a retreat, time to rest, time to prepare for more ministry. They are worn out at this point. They don't have much left to give. They need a break. You ever feel like that? Like you don't have enough time? You don't have enough money? My wife and I just got our tax liability from our taxes for 2004. It's going to just destroy our savings. don't have enough energy, right? If you have kids, don't have enough patience. It's one I lack a lot. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Not enough sleep, not enough emotional or mental margin. And it's easy just to feel worn out just by the day-to-day demands. This is the second mark of self-preservation, feeling drained. There's too many demands on me. There's just too much going on. My kids are now older. They're in sports. I mostly am a taxi driver. There's been days where I drive 3 hours, 4 hours, just to school and sports, and I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? They don't need to be in school. They don't need to be in sports. They don't need friends. What's happening? Right?
Take me out of school.
It's my son. Oh, well, you pull me out of school, I'm fine. Right? But you get to that point where you feel like there's an imbalance, that something is wrong, something is off, that I'm giving way more than I receive, and I'm just worn out. And if you're feeling drained, that might be an indication that you either are or you are contemplating going into self-preservation mode. Because usually that when we get that empty sign in our souls, right? We're like that battery, and like once it turns red, we're like, oh, it's time to start thinking about me now, guys. And so the story continues, and they went away into a boat on the desolate place by themselves. Now many saw them and going and recognized them, and they ran there on foot from all the towns, and they got there ahead of them. Right? So they're like trying to take a break. Everybody is like, oh my gosh, let's go where they're going. The party's moving. Did you notice that there's a shift in pronouns?
What?
There's a shift in, not the way for the youth. It's not the way that you're thinking. There's a change in pronouns. So before, it was all about Jesus. He was doing this. He was doing that. He was doing this. Now it's them and they. The focus has shifted from Jesus to the disciples. Not only are the disciples focused on their own contribution, but the crowd is focusing on their contribution as well. Now they are important too. Jesus isn't the only one that can do miracles now. I can do miracles too. Look at me. And as they're like, look at me, I can do stuff. People stop looking at Jesus and start looking to them. They are actually actively encouraging others to stop focusing on Jesus and start focusing on themselves. And this is the third mark of self-preservation, taking Jesus' spotlight. When we go into self-preservation mode, we need to focus everybody else on us and how difficult our life is, the contribution we've made. Look at me, my, and I. And without knowing it, we've taken the spotlight off Jesus and shifted it up onto us. And it's that idea that I'm the one who meets your needs around here. It's not Jesus. I'm the one that's been doing everything for you. I'm the one that helps this company work. I'm the one that runs this household. I'm the one who does this. That look at all of my efforts. Yeah, there's that Jesus guy, but we only talk about him on Sundays. Every other day of the week, it's about me and overestimating my contribution, and it causes people not to see Jesus in your life. So the question is, what are you asking people to focus on right now in your life? Is Jesus the main character? Or are you? Right? See, Jesus should be the main character, and we're just the supporting cast that is making him look good. And our job is to put the spotlight on Jesus, but when we have a poverty mentality, we only draw attention to ourselves. And the story continues. So he goes ashore, and he sees a great crowd, and he had compassion on them. And because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And then he began to teach them many things. So just really quickly, put yourself in the disciples' shoes. You've been touring Israel, which is about half the length of California. So you're walking half the length of California, teaching, working, like just, you're not even able to bring anything except for the clothes that you wear, right? It's kind of a rough, it's not going to be anything like Thailand if you're going to Thailand. We're staying at a resort, very different. They're just going out, preaching the gospel, staying wherever they can, not getting money for it, not getting paid for it. They come back, and they're busier, so busy they don't have time to eat. They have no leisure time, right? Every once in a while, you guys ever do that at work where you're just like so busy you can't eat a meal? Anyone? Think about being so busy that you can't eat any meals. And then Jesus promises you some rest. And you get there, and what is there? No rest. There's a crowd of people, needy people. You're like, dude, we came here to get away from the needs. What do these people do? How would you feel if you were the disciples? Well, some of you are like, I'm not going to say it. I'll say it for you. I'd be ticked. I'd be like, dude, you promised me a retreat. It's like a bait and switch. It's like when your friend like comes ask you to hang over, and all of a sudden you find out he's moving. You're like, no. We were gonna watch the game. I didn't realize I was packing. This is jacked up. And realize Jesus is the complete opposite of the disciples. He is just as, if not more, worn out than they are. He is just as hungry as they are. Right? You actually see how worn out and tired Jesus becomes when he's on the sea. The storm-tossed sea. Like how tired, how exhausted do you have to be in the back of the boat that's being shaken by the waves, having water drenched and poured on you, and still sleep? Some people are like, oh, it's just the peace of the Lord. No, he was exhausted. My babies, if those of you who had like super small babies, when they're super infants, when they decide to sleep, they just conk out, and you can like play with them. You can like hold them like, wake up. And they're like, nope, sorry. Sleep is taking control. My oldest, they were concerned about his weight, so we had to wake him up like every 2 hours. And it was almost impossible to wake him up because he was so tired. His body's like growing and stuff. So we had to take a cold, like washcloth. It was like so brutal to do it to him. And you put it on his cold skin, and just so he's like so mad that he'll wake up that you can shove the thing in his mouth.
Wait, it wasn't because I was fat or skinny?
You were skinny.
Oh.
You were underweight.
Yeah.
But it's that idea that Jesus is, the disciples are not the only one going hard. The disciples are not the only one that are exhausted. The disciples are not the only one that's hungry, that didn't have time to eat. But when he sees the people, what is his reaction to the crowd? Compassion. The disciples see the crowd and they're like, ah. Jesus sees the crowd and he's moved with compassion. Right? You guys remember what compassion means? Like literally means? For those of you that speak Spanish, con pasión, with passion. Literally means with passion. And the passion isn't like, hey, she's cute. The passion is old school, which means pain. Literally means to feel the pain of other people. And Jesus goes tired, exhausted, and he understood that he was hungry and he was tired, but the people before him were lost. And their need far surpassed his. And he allowed their pain to override his own desires for rest and comfort and food. They were lost and had nobody to care for them. It says they were like sheep without a shepherd, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Because was there a dearth or a lack of religious leaders in Israel at this time? No. You throw a rock and you'll hit a Pharisee. It's not that there was nobody to take care of them. It's just all of those who were supposed to be taking care of them were doing what? Meeting their own needs. They were actually using the people to meet their own needs. The people they're supposed to be caring for became a way for them to get their own needs met. And this is the great tragedy of self-preservation. That we stop seeing people as people. We see them as one of two ways. Either as obstacles to get what we want, which is what the disciples saw them as, or we see them as opportunities to get our needs met, which is the Pharisees. And people are either in your way or they're just useful. They're not people anymore. So the question is there anybody in your life that you see as an obstacle? And don't lie, we all have those people. You see them at church or at work or wherever, and you see them in the distance and you go, let me just look at this. We're like, no, I don't want to give to you. There's people that were like, no. You're on timeout. No more giving. Go away. The other question is maybe you don't see people as obstacles, but are there people that you are using for your own personal benefit? Right? I'm talking to all the needy people in here. You know who you are, where you're like, I need you to validate me. I need you to tell me. And you will require people to make you feel good. That person is no longer a person to you. You are just using them for your own benefit. And so Jesus sees them as lost sheep, and what does he do? He gives of his time, he gives of his energy, he gives of his mental and emotional resources. He's as tapped as the disciples, but he doesn't have a poverty mindset. He has an abundance mindset, which is, I have more than I need. I'm exhausted and tired, but I have more than I need. And the other thing about an abundance mindset is that you cannot take from me that which I freely give. Realize, if you have an abundance mindset, nobody can take from you. You cannot be when you freely give, nobody's taking. And then he sits down and he teaches them many things. He begins to enrich them. A poverty mindset is all about enriching self. An abundance mindset is about enriching others. Right? And some of you who are like overworked, you're like, I can never take time for myself. I can never. Is that what I'm saying? No. What did Jesus do every morning? Spend time with the Lord. You do need a filling. You cannot live an abundant life without filling. And that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult for us to have an abundance mindset, is because there's not a lot of filling going on. Does that make sense? So those of you who think I'm just telling you to work harder, I am not. And then, so he's talking. Jesus is like, blah, blah, blah. And did I tell you about this? And this is the disciples' mentality. And this and this and this. And this and this and this. Oh, and don't forget about this. And he's teaching them all these things until it grows late. It gets super late. Right? Dusk is upon us. It's going to be late soon. It's getting cold. And so his disciples come to him and say, what does it say? This is a desolate place, which means there's no Starbucks. There's no 7-Elevens. There's no food marts, nothing. Send the people away so they at least have time before it gets dark to get into some town, someplace close, and they could at least buy themselves something to eat. Right? First of all, this is not what they were expecting. They were promised a retreat, and they got more ministry time. And they're disgruntled at this point. Jesus doesn't just teach a little bit. How long does he teach? Until it gets quite late. Can you imagine just sitting there? You're like, your stomach's grumbling. You're like, okay, it's been an hour. We're good. And then you're like, it's been 6 hours. All right, we need to wrap this up, Jesus. Right? And you start giving Jesus clues. You're like, when do you think what time is sunset? Right? And then eventually, they get to the fourth mark of self-preservation. They put their needs first. They walk up. Do you really think they're concerned about where these people are going to get food? They don't care. Who's the person that hasn't eaten? Who are the people that don't have time to have a meal? The disciples. They're not like, hey, you know what? These guys, and the way they couch it too is like so self-justifying, which is the next one. Like, I'm so concerned about these people, Jesus, that I really should put my needs first. And so they put their needs first. They go up to Jesus and say, get rid of these people. That's what they say. Get rid of these people. This has been going on long enough, Jesus. Stop this whole, I'm a shepherd, the good shepherd, and these people are lost sheep. We know it. Everybody's got it. Let's go to dinner. And they begin to put their agenda first. The crowd, we're told, is like lost sheep. The disciples have a shepherd. They have the greatest shepherd ever. They have the greatest shepherd, and they are annoyed that Jesus is meeting the crowd's needs before he is meeting their needs. Even though the crowd's needs far surpass theirs. The crowd's needs are far greater than their needs, but they're ticked off. They have a shepherd, but the crowd doesn't. And they're mad that their shepherd is not giving them attention, but giving the crowd attention. Right? It's the perfect example. My son can attest to this. It used to happen more when he was younger. What I was tried, I don't know if you've got little kids, you try to have quiet time in the morning, right? And it's my agenda is I'm going to spend time with God. I'm going to get filled up. I'm going to have this amazing, and I'll just be able to be like walk on water the rest of the day. And as I'm sitting there with the Lord and my coffee and my worship music, it's like when they were toddlers, they'd run in, daddy, 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 blah, 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 blah. And the first time, it's okay. I'm good. But by the 10th time, you know what I do? Daddy's trying to be with Jesus right now. Don't you understand? Get out of here. This is the last time. Everybody's going to go on timeout. I'm trying to be more like Jesus. And everybody, you all know, I know all the parents. I can see your faces. And the thing is, the reason why I get upset is because I'm putting my agenda before theirs. It's the only reason. And once I realized that my agenda doesn't supersede their needs, it became a lot easier to not freak out and yell at them. No, there's no question.
When have you realized that?
I'm still realizing it. And it's amazing, like, look, their request sounds so good. And it's amazing the type of mental gymnastics we will do to justify our own self-preservation. Right? We will tell ourselves anything that we need to say, like, no, it's cool that I'm making this choice. And we do the same thing. When you have a million good reasons why you should go into self-preservation mode, cut people out, all that stuff, you might be justifying your own self-preservation. The disciples and their self-preservation, Jesus isn't meeting their needs, so they start to look out for themselves, right? And we do the same thing. I'm going to pick on some of us. Right? The fathers. It is easy to go into self-preservation mode and just be a checked out dad. You go to work, you have a hard day, you're pouring out, you come home, and you just ignore the wife and kids for a few hours. I just need to watch ESPN for a little bit. Right? Where I don't have, it's me time, kids, go away. After dinner, we can talk. Or the overextended wife who's doing everything, right? Where everything needs to be done and you're doing everything, you're working yourself to death, and you're in control of everything, but you're just absolutely exhausted, right? And instead of meeting real needs, you're just doing busy work. Or sometimes we have the guarded heart, right? Where we protect our heart, and it makes us feel safe in relationships, but we're missing out on all the love and acceptance, and just keeping people at bay. No. This is far enough. Or some of us do it as the achievement seeker, right? You got to go, got to achieve, you got to drive, you got goals. And you trade busyness for growth and relational intimacy. And then he goes on. This is Jesus' answer after they're like, hey, Jesus, kick him to the curb. Jesus says, if you're so concerned about them, you feed them. You give them something to eat. And they said to him, I didn't think you were going to say that, Jesus. They're like, how are we supposed to do that? Are we going to go buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it them to eat? And then he said to them, how many loaves do you have? Go and see. And then they found out, and they said, we have 5 and 2 fish. So they come to Jesus, and they say, get rid of them. And Jesus does something. He says, you give them something to eat. What is Jesus trying to do here? Remember what did Jesus just have them do just a couple pericopes ago, a couple paragraphs ago? Go out. And what did they do when they went out? All kinds of miracles. They were able to live this supernatural life that we dream about. And then Jesus gives them a chance to engage God supernaturally. And what is their response? I'm not sure that's possible. They just saw God do all kinds of crazy stuff that blew their mind, but now their self-focus and their self-preservation is causing them not to be able to even see beyond their own resources. They've completely forgotten everything they've seen God do. And Jesus says, here's an opportunity. And they're like, I don't have enough money, dude. Sorry. And they completely blow it. They can't see past themselves or their lack of resources. And so they miss partnering with God. That's what God does to us all the time. He's like, hey, I've got this amazing opportunity for you. And we go, not sure. I don't see how that works out, God. And we miss the cool things that he has for us. And this is the last mark. You can't see past yourself. Oh my goodness. Can't see past yourself to be used by God. You can't see past yourself to be used by God. It's this poverty mentality that prevents us from seeing anything except for our lack of resources. 9 times out of 10, this is us. Right? How many of you guys beg God, use me somehow, do something in my life, really cool. We're asking God, use me, I'm here. And then he calls us, and we're like, that's a lot more than I was thinking about, God. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the energy. And we often miss the extraordinary things God wants to do in our life because we are so focused on preserving what we have. I mean, just how many opportunities do you think you've missed out on just because of that mentality in your life? I could probably think of 20 to 30. I do that every once in a while. I think about what my life would have been, if I had made different choices at different times. And there's so many are wow, my life could be extraordinarily different if I had made different choices and taken different opportunities as the Lord gave them. Whether it's good or bad, here I am. And Jesus is actually about to show what it's like to have an abundance mentality, what it looks like. Right? They say, we don't have enough, and Jesus asks, well, what do you have? They're we don't have enough resources. Well, pull out your pockets and throw your change on, and we'll count what's there. And their answer is, well, there's not much. We got some fish and bread, and that's it. Good luck with that, Jesus. And then he commanded them all to sit down in groups on the green grass. And so they sat down in groups by hundreds and fifties. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and said a blessing and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples to set before the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them all. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces and of the fish. And those who ate the loaves were 5,000 men, which means there's a lot more people who were fed because they only count men. There was also women and children there. Right? So Jesus' response is, let me cook. Right? Watch me do my stuff. None of the old people got that. That's a youth saying. Thanks. The younger millennials know. Jesus shows them what's possible when you have an abundance mentality. Instead of looking at the lack, he looked at what heaven had to offer. Yeah, it's just a couple loaves and some fish. But what God has is a lot more. And as he began to rely on heaven for the resources, not the resources he was in front of his eyes, God's supernatural provision happened, multiplying what was there. And not only, this is the crazy part, not only was everyone fed, there were leftovers. And this is the interesting part. How many leftovers were there? Baskets of leftovers? How many disciples are there? Wow, that's interesting. Jesus made sure each disciple had incontrovertible proof in their hands of what happens when you rely on God instead of looking to yourself. Each one of them picked up baskets, and they're like, wow, I didn't know that was possible. 2 fish, who would have known? And this is God's heart for us. Not that we would protect the little that we have, but that we would allow him to multiply it in our lives to something that would bring him great glory. The poverty mentality focuses on ourselves, and we end up hurting those around us. The abundance mentality, everybody's needs get met. Not only do their needs get met, there's leftover. Right? This is what good marriages look like. In bad marriages are marriages that are like, I will meet your needs if and when I see you meeting my needs. In those kinds of marriages, everyone's needs go unmet. Everybody's disgruntled about something. But something glorious happens when both partners are like, you know what, regardless of what you do, I'm going to meet your needs. Something amazing happens and everyone's needs get met. Nobody's upset. And it's that same mentality that we have. Instead of being like, okay, God, you give me first and then I'll give. It's just, no, I'm going to give, God. Knowing that you are also going to reciprocate and give back to me and multiply whatever the little that I have to give, you're going to multiply it. I know, that's what I said. God wants to powerfully flow through you and change people's lives. But we prevent it when we go into self-preservation mode. My favorite saying, one of my favorite sayings, and I think I'm the one that made this up, I'm not sure.
That's probably me.
It's probably him. Is we often go to God for direction, and then we go to our bank account for permission. Right? We're like, God, give me this dream, give me this thing. And then we're like, okay, hey, bank account, God wants me to do this. What do you think? And we go back to God and we're like, bank account said no. Do you got more of a Temu style plan for my life? Is there a Temu option for me, God? Here's the application. Number one, we should be driven by faith, not our fear. I don't know why God made us this way, but the craziest thing about us humans is we are more motivated by fear of loss than the ability to gain. It's just this bizarre. So bizarre. People make horrible decisions just because they're like, oh, I don't want to lose. But you might gain something extraordinary. No. I'd rather suffer with what I have than lose this horrible thing and get something much better. Right? And so we need to realize that's our first impulse. And to override and ask God for faith instead of fear. The second thing that we need to do is we need to treat causes, not symptoms. Right? There's a lie that when there's more demand than we have resources, that what we tell ourselves is what I need to do is reduce the demand, which is a lie. That just gets rid of the symptoms. It doesn't address the cause at all. It's like when my kids say like, oh, it hurts when I move my finger like that. My response as a dad is,
Put some ice on it.
don't. It hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. And that's our mentality. It hurts when I do this, God. So I'm just not going to do it at all. Right? And we're not actually addressing the cause. We're just like the symptoms. Just address the symptoms. Avoid difficulty at all cost. But the thing is, when we avoid difficulty, we avoid growth. We avoid God's provision. And we avoid that supernatural life of abundance that we so desperately want. And it's crazy. We complain about how mediocre our life is, but when God challenges us, we run from the discomfort. It's like, I want an amazing life, but I don't want to give anything up. The last one is there's no breakthrough without buy-in. I've been in ministry for 20 years. And I have never seen this approach of scaling back work for anybody. I've never seen it work for a single person. Right? Think of it like in terms of fitness. How many of you guys want to get more healthy and fit? Most of you. So what if we approach that with fitness is the same thing? It's like, working out is so hard. I'm going to take a break and start again when it's easier. Right? It's so hard to lift these. God didn't. This is my idea. If you pick up something and it makes you go, put it down. God's trying to tell you it's too heavy. Put it down, right? But it's this idea if it's too difficult, so I'll just avoid it until it becomes easy. There's no growth. There will never be any growth. Right? Sometimes there's people that are like, I'm so burnt out, I'm just going to stop serving altogether. Right? Or I'm serving for the wrong reasons, so I'm just going to stop serving altogether. And my response is always, that doesn't fix your actual problem. There's a problem here. There's not a problem in your schedule. There's a problem in your heart. And yeah, you might be overextended and maybe pull some of it back and serve only in one place, but be able to work through the heart issue. And when I give people that advice, most of them are already committed to self-preservation. They're like, no, I'm just done. I just need time for myself. It's like you'll never be able to work on what you need to work through if you're just like, it hurts, so I just need a break. Right? When the demands outstrip the resources, the answer, the solution is not to take a break. The solution is to dig a deeper well. Right? When you run out of water, you go to the well and you're like, oh, there's nothing left in me. It's not like, stop everything. It's start digging. It's start digging so that the internal resources will be there in the future. Especially for those of you who are younger. Life just gets more and more demanding. The more kids you have, it's just more and more demanding. It never lets up. That's the horrible thing about life. Welcome to life, youth. It's hard, and then it just gets harder, and there's more demands, and then you die. And you're with Jesus, and then everything's good again. Right? But instead of digging a deeper well, what we do, we're like, there's something missing in our soul and our spirit, and so what we decide to do is take a break and feed our flesh. And we think that's the solution. Right? So we end up eating too much or drinking too much or sleeping too much, binging Netflix watching, doing video games, shopping. The list goes on. There's like a million things that we do that when we're like, I need a break, I need me time, that we indulge, and it's always just our flesh. Right? When we're feeling empty, the problem is on the inside, but we think like, oh, spa day will fix it. Don't get me wrong, spa days fix a lot, but they don't. I'm not knocking spa days. And you see Jesus versus the disciples. The disciples are pouring out and they look to themselves. Jesus is pouring out and looking for the Father. Every morning, Jesus has quiet time. The solution isn't to take a break. The solution is to develop a place of rest in your soul. One of my favorite sayings is we don't minister from rest. We don't rest from ministry, right? So as you're doing ministry and serving God, you don't rest from ministry. We minister from a place of rest. There should be rest inside of us. We're just like Jesus. There's this abundance that overflows. And we do that by spending more time with the Father. I'll bet dollars to donuts.
I like donuts.
It's my kid. I'll bet dollars to donuts that anybody in this room that's like, I am burnt out, your quiet time is almost non-existent. When I've been in ministry, I ran a discipleship school, and I'd get team members all the time being like, I'm so burnt out. And I'd ask them, like, how's your quiet time? They're like, I don't. And so I would be like, you need to go right now. You're useless. You're useless to all the people. Go spend an hour with God. The things that you have to give are useless if you're not filled up with the Lord. So, as we're going to take a break right now, the question is, what area of your life, two questions, are you in self-preservation mode? Is there an area of your life where you're like, I am in full-blown, everybody leave me alone, circle the wagons, I don't care what your needs are, mine come first? Is there an area? And then the second question is, how can you look to Jesus instead of your own resources in that area? Because when we connect with him and we spend the time with him and we look to his resources, it's extraordinary how he multiplies the little that we have. Right? As a father, you come home, kids are crazy, wife's crazy, and sometimes you're like, God, I just don't have the need. Most days I'm like, I don't have the resources to meet today's demands. And you're just like, God, please multiply what little I have right now. Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for your grace and your abundance. And we just ask that you would help us to not look inward, but to look at you. That as the demands of life come rolling in, instead of circling the wagons, that we would sit with you and that we would get energized by you, and that you would give an abundance that we can flow out. We pray for the food today. We ask you would bless it. We ask you would bless the conversations. In Jesus' name, amen.